I'm Craig Kenneth, a relationship coach and a psychotherapist. Every relationship is different, and every breakup is different. Work with me, and you'll get professional help on your situation. Just click on the link in the description below, or go to my website, askcraig.net. Hi there, I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
I'm Coach Margaret.
And today we're going to be talking about the real reason you fell in love. So, Margaret has an interesting presentation on the biological components of why we fall in love. Because oftentimes we forget that love is, something unique for human beings and mammals. Turtles, do you think turtles fall in love?
Yes, I
do. You?
Yes.
Ninja turtles?
I don't know about ninja turtles, but tortoises kind of rub their necks together.
It's interesting. It's funny because I have seen videos of tortoises.
Yeah.
They help others when they're on their back.
Yes, they do.
But do you think all animals are capable of love?
Well, that's the whole imprinting thing, which is the first way we began to learn about it.
Yeah.
And if you'll indulge me for a very quick story, the famous man who discovered imprinting was named Konrad Lorenz, and he thought it might exist. So he arranged for him to be present when some goose eggs hatched. And the geese thought he was their mother, followed him everywhere, quacked happily at him, and it goes on. It's a long, complicated story, to the point where they followed him in a little airplane. Yeah. So that's imprinting, and that's, kind of the rudimentary beginnings of attachment.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah.
But there is a big biological component of love.
Right.
And we are wired to attach and to connect.
Yes.
And if we didn't have that in us, we wouldn't really care about each other.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So Margaret's going to share some really great stuff today that's going to help you, kind of think about, what those stages were like. And we're going to talk about the stages of going through love.
Yes.
All right?
Yes.
Take it away.
All right. I looked through several articles, as I often do, and I chose this particular one because I thought it was really well done. And the author of this article says that the only difference between being in love and on a drug high, like an addict, is the fact that love is legal. And this guy maintains that Mother Nature has to absolutely drug us to get us to fall in love. Well, if you think about it, what does falling in love mean? It means
losing your mind?
Losing your mind, being completely crazy for a while. But it can lead to a lifetime commitment, which can lead to, committing to another person, which can lead to having children and committing to them, and lead to living a stable life for 20 or 30 years. It's a lot of stuff that's involved. And if we thought about all of it, and one of us will lose the other, because one will die first, most likely. So it's a huge thing to do.
Absolutely.
So this guy says that if we weren't drugged by nature, we probably wouldn't do it. So in the first giddy and most wonderful stages that I hope we've all experienced, it feels magical, right? It feels like a dream come true. Perfect. This is the person you've waited for your entire life. This is going to fix every wrong and disappointment that ever happened to you. And what we see is how we are similar to our partner. We don't notice the difference, and we don't notice the flaws. Our partner is perfect for those first euphoric months. Okay?
It would be great if that lasted like that forever.
Wouldn't it? But Mother Nature keeps pumping those drugs, and it pumps a number of hormones. I don't know that you care to know their names particularly. One is the love hormone, which is oxytocin. You hear a lot about that now. Now, mammals have oxytocin. If you interact with your dog for a while, both of you get an oxytocin shot. They say that both the dog and you feel a warm, fuzzy, connected feeling. So and there are several other ones too long to pronounce.
Well, dopamine is
one of them.
That's a really important one.
Yes.
I think, because I feel like people, they feel like they're high because they are high.
They are high. Absolutely, they're getting.
You're high on Wanda or Phil or
whatever
Betty
his name is.
whoever they are.
Yep. Designed to start your heart thumping and start a fire in your loins, says the author here. And the only difference is that falling in love is legal and being high is not. Your drug-induced haze forces you to only see how you're similar to your partner and how you're just perfect for each other. And you will do anything in this stage to make your partner happy.
Yeah.
Okay? Eventually, however, the high wears off. And that can take anywhere from 2 months to 2 years.
Yeah.
But there's absolutely nothing like it, and no one forgets it. And if you talk to people, who've just recently experienced that high before the breakup, they're just incredulous. How could anything go from being this most wonderful experience I ever had in my life to suddenly being over for no reason that I understand?
Yeah.
It's very, very difficult.
Yeah, and your partner is going to go through different experiences.
Absolutely.
Your level of intensity may be far beyond theirs, and so, or maybe it wears off for them, and then that's part of the reason that they're no longer...
It could wear off for you first, and
You're taking a risk.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all a risk, and that's why we have to be drugged. At that point, you wake up with what is commonly called the love hangover. When you realize that this isn't perfect and your partner is different from you and may even have some traits you find annoying. So,
unless you're dating me.
Well, in that case, then it's just an ongoing high for years and years and years. This is all complicated by the fact that the next stage is the power struggle stage. So you go from this wonderful, aptly called honeymoon period where everything's wonderful, to this second period where the chemicals wear off and you really get your first good look at each other.
And they're driving you crazy.
And they're driving you crazy, which you can't understand. So what do we promptly do? We promptly try to get them back to acting like they did when we were in the romantic stage.
Yeah.
Or we get mad at them because they're not who we thought. Okay?
Yep.
And we can be punishing.
I can't believe you're acting like this.
I can't believe you're acting like this. I still love you. What happened? So when they refuse to change, it can be very, very distressing. And there are many relationships that end right at this stage. But the goal of this stage is a healthy goal, which is why I particularly chose this article. The goal of the relationship is to establish your autonomy. Autonomy, that's one of my favorite subjects. Your autonomy inside this relationship without destroying the love connection. Let me read it again. The goal of this stage of the relationship is to establish your autonomy inside your relationship without destroying the love connection between you. Right?
Yep.
So never can we give up our autonomy. I'm the one who's always going on and saying that, we first say no at age 2, we say no better at age 15, and we have a need to be able to say no and to feel like we're autonomous decision makers throughout our lives. Now, it sounds contradictory, but it can be done, that people can find their way to find a way to keep some autonomy and still be in the relationship.
And it's not healthy if somebody doesn't.
No, it isn't.
As a matter of fact, I did a Skype today with somebody that we both have Skyped with.
Yes.
It's a woman.
Yes.
And she has experienced this problem because her ex sells his house without telling her, decides he wants to move in with her.
Without telling her. Yes.
And says, that's it, I want to be with you, I'm going to spend every day with you, we're going to have every meal together, I'm going to drive you to and from work every day. Literally do all of that.
And she said, excuse me, you forgot to ask me how I felt about that.
Yeah.
As she should have, because you can't do that.
Yeah, if somebody did that to me, I'd be like, you sold your house and you think you're moving in with me? Oh, no.
It's kind of a love bomb. And how do you say no to somebody who's being that solicitous of you and so nice to you and so forth? And thank God she had the sense to say, no, we need to think about this.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's interesting that you said love bomb because she suspects he's a narcissist.
Of course he is. It's really all about him, even though he goes to every length to make it seem it's all about her.
Yes, he really does.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and so it's very intense for her.
Yeah, and of course other people think she's crazy. this guy wants to do everything for you.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a bright, accomplished woman.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
very.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, other friends are like, no, this is never going to work for you.
Right.
So she's getting both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, yeah. But fortunately, she had the ego strength to say, no.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Autonomy.
Autonomy. It's a big one. We're hardwired for both. Connection and autonomy. And I like the message of this, which says you can have it both ways, and I believe that. That if it's going to be a healthy relationship, you're going to have elements of both.
Yeah.
This guy notes that many marriages break up at this point, many relationships break up at this point, because the honeymoon period can go from 2 months to 2 years. So it can go on for a long time. I mean, it's very possible to get married within that period.
Yeah.
And then be married and wake up one day and say,
who are you?
Who are you?
Yeah. It really takes a good couple of years to get to know somebody.
Sure it does. Love at first sight. There's attraction at first sight, but I don't think there's love at first sight.
I think it's more like lust.
Yeah, love. Yeah.
How can you love somebody you don't even know?
You really can't. You can be drawn to them and feel really comfortable with them,
Yeah.
but that's if they're boundaryless. So beware of that idea.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens in the power struggle stage? Well, you do exactly that. You struggle and struggle. Either you break up, which means you take the nearest exit out of this. Now I found that you like anchovy sandwiches.
Never knew you.
And you never
I don't know you anymore.
Right. So breaking up is one possibility. Surviving is certainly the other possibility. And you continue along your journey together, surviving through the pain and frustration of a relationship that may be stuck in the past and is no longer growing. So people have to grow and move out of this stage. Okay? Mm-hmm. People who have chosen the option of keeping it kind of where it is will tell you that any good relationship involves sacrifice and compromise.
Yep.
And it's not so much fun. But it doesn't have to be like that. There is a way out of it. You can have relationship and autonomy at the same time if you're willing to really work at it.
Yeah.
Okay?
It really does become a power struggle, though.
It really does, yeah. And one of the things that struck me about this, that made it ring true for me, is if you look at the stages of the development of a therapeutic group. Mm-hmm. The first stage is, we all get to know each other, and just when we all feel warm and fuzzy comes the power struggle stage there too.
And the thing is that you really need to think about is you and your partner are likely going to struggle with one part of that struggle more than the other.
Yeah.
In other words, if you're anxious, you're going to struggle more with being alone, mm-hmm. and they're going to struggle with the closeness.
Yeah.
So your partner's going to, in many cases, have the exact opposite struggle
Right.
that you have,
Yes.
and so it's very difficult for you to understand their struggle. Now, if you're more secure, you're going to
It would
both
be easier.
fairly have the same struggle, right? It'll
Right.
be more fairly aligned.
Right. And if you can learn to talk about it, that of course is the best possible outcome. But certainly not everybody is at that point. But if you get through it, then you've come to the point where you accept and appreciate each other's differences. If you like anchovies, I guess it's okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Do I have to be home when you eat them?
Oh God, I hope not. Okay. And sometimes you can even, if you can get to a really healthy place, you can even admire the part of the struggle that is easier for them and say, wow, it might be nice if I was a little bit more avoidant because I wouldn't be so anxious when they go out.
Right.
Or I wouldn't be so afraid they were going to abandon me.
Yeah.
I wish I was a little bit more like that sometimes.
Yep.
That's a healthy place to be.
Yes,
when
it
you
is.
can really admire what it would be like to be them and have that struggle instead of your own.
Right. Or, I can't think in concrete terms. I kind of live with abstractions over here. Thank God you can think in concrete terms, or we'd never get anything done.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Like sometimes you'll find maybe you're clean and they're really messy.
Yep.
And so you kind of balance each other out sometimes.
And I'm going to throw you out of the house one Saturday a month while I clean it.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't fight about it while you're here. All of those things come up. And why won't you put the top back on the toothpaste? Okay, you realize who you are and what you have together as a couple.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That's a big piece of work to get to that point.
Mm-hmm.
And you give up the fantasy that there's going to be harmony without struggle. Because there's never going to be. We're human beings.
Only in the fantasy part.
Only in the fantasy part. And of course that's...
Or you're dating me. We established that.
Right, yes. That's perpetual bliss. But either that or you hope that you're going to go back to how it was in the beginning when everything was perfect and you didn't have any flaws, and neither did I. So you give up the fantasy of harmony without struggle. And you accept life just the way it is. Good and loving some of the time, a struggle some of the time, and life on its terms.
Yep.
Okay? But it's very hard to give up that fantasy.
Very hard.
Yeah.
And I think that the less needs that were met for you in your childhood, the harder it is
going to be
to give that fantasy up.
The more secure you are, the more your needs were met. Yeah, Craig is right. The easier it's going to be for you. But if you're used to there being a number of deficits in your first relationship with your mother, you're going to be much more anxious now in this deficit. This author very rightly points out that many couples don't totally get by the power struggle stage and go back to it periodically.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I still want to do the cleaning before the company comes, not after.
Yeah. I'll give you that one, Margaret.
What's that?
I'll give you that one. That logic makes more sense.
Yes. And it's very easy for one partner to quit halfway through because they feel like this is more hard work than I'm ready to do.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe you're not ready. Maybe you didn't have enough of the honeymoon phase to carry you through this phase. And remember too, people don't do this in linear terms. Anything that has stages are very helpful to understand things, but nobody conforms totally to them. So you may go back into the wonderful romantic stage once in a while to sort of keep yourself together, or you may fight like cats and dogs periodically. In reality, when one partner quits the relationship midway through the power struggle, they're usually unwilling to face some aspect of themselves that's going to have to come out for this relationship to work.
Interesting.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting, but probably true.
Any thoughts about that?
Well, people may be unwilling to admit how needy they are. Some people are reluctant to share how difficult their growing up was. Some people don't want to share how depressed they are a lot of the time. There are many things that people are unwilling to share and really look at, but you really have to make it the rest of the way with this partner. Yeah.
And some people just don't want to live in reality.
No.
They completely deny reality.
Yeah.
It baffles me.
Yeah.
But I guess their defenses are so high because their struggle is, or they're functioning on such a low level.
Yeah.
They have to keep those defenses
Well, I mean,
up.
I think when you need to hold on to the fantasy, and I've certainly worked with many people who had a fantasy they needed to hold on to, they can't let go of it until they have something to replace it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's just much easier to live in the real world in the long run.
Yeah. Not always easy to get there.
Not always easy to get there. And think about breaking up in the middle of the euphoric stage. Think about that. I mean, there can't be any worse insult in the world, okay? And I mean an insult kind of as a physical and an emotional thing. I'm insulted by this. It shouldn't have happened. What's going on here? And what does Hollywood tell us? It tells us that when people fall in love, it is a perpetual honeymoon, okay? And it isn't. That just is not the real world, even if you have all the money in the world. And some of the people we see from Hollywood and so forth, some of the famous couples do have much of the money in the world, but it still doesn't absolutely fix things for them.
Not at all.
Yeah. It certainly
brings up a different set of problems.
Yeah. I mean, I'd rather be sad on my yacht than on my dingy back porch myself, but wouldn't we all? Yeah. But no one's immune from it. And if you get through that stage, then the next one is the stability stage. And then you've kind of figured out that you're not going to change your partner. It's not going to happen. And you kind of give that up. And the thrill of love begins to return a little bit when the power struggle is over and you have really accepted your partner, anchovies and all.
Yeah.
Okay? And you're ready to give up the struggle. It finally becomes clear that you're never going to change your partner, and you've even given up wanting to. All right? That's big. That's big.
I think that's a real struggle.
Yes, it is.
I don't think many people can get to that point.
Right?
Right?
Yeah.
Where
I
they
still want you to change. Why are you not Superman?
And why'd you forget the anchovies?
Because I'm passive-aggressive and I'm still in the power struggle. Because they said if you don't finish the power struggle now, you'll have to go back to it later. All right, after that comes the commitment stage. And what they say is this is the first time we're really ready to get married, except we've probably been married since the romantic stage, which has made the rest of it easier because you don't know if it's because you got married that this power struggle came. You don't know if it's a normal piece of being together. The commitment stage is when you fully surrender to the reality that you and your partner are human and that your relationship has shortcomings as a result. Okay? And you'd be surprised how hard it is for some people to accept that there is no perfection and that we're going to have to live with good enough, which was a great term that was coined by a man named Winnicott many years ago, when he talked about having a good enough relationship with a mother or a caretaker. You end up having a good enough relationship with your partner.
Yeah.
Not perfect, but good enough.
Good enough.
Yeah. But you've arrived there when you can honestly say to your partner, I don't need you. I choose you knowing all about you, the good parts and the bad parts and the anchovies.
Yep.
Okay? When you can say, I don't need you, and how many love songs do we hear that have I need you in it? Okay?
You sound like Lionel Richie.
Yes, yes, yeah, I want you, I need you, with all my heart, as a matter of fact. But it's very hard to say because, and you'll hear people in a breakup saying, but I need him, I need her. Well, you need to take another look at that because you're going to lose your autonomy if those are the terms you have for the relationship. And we can't do that either. And sometimes when we feel that urge to be more independent, we hear a very common phrase, which is, I need space. Right? We hear that all the time. And people don't understand it and feel rejected by it, when it probably means just exactly what the person is saying. I need a little more space to think, to be, to see my friends, to work on my hobby, to do whatever.
The problem that comes with that is, you know, our anxiety, which sets us off, and then we just push and pull and fight and scream and kick and yell and threaten and punish and all that good stuff. And then you chase them away.
Yes, you do. And of course you see the relationships, and one partner will say, well, I'm the really jealous kind. How is your partner doing with that? Not well. No kidding. And you know, you hear awful stories. I remember one in particular where the woman said every time she went to the grocery store, if she was 1 minute longer than her husband thought he should be, he would accuse her of getting it on with the bag boy. Okay? And you hear those things, that people just don't trust each other. And it's no way to have a relationship.
No.
And if you find yourself in that position, please seek help.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, because you're only going to trigger each other's abandonment fears. And I had a very painful case at one point where I had a couple that very much loved each other, but his anxiety was so terrible that he thought he had to remind her on a regular basis not to cheat on him, which of course eventually made her so fed up with him, she left him. And it was sad because it didn't have to happen.
Yeah.
And he would say, well, I can't change it, it's just the way my brain works. If she's gone too long to a business meeting, I think she's seeing somebody. Why can't you change how your brain works? That's not what she was doing, you know?
Yeah.
But all of those things take a lot of work. But jealousy is the kiss of death. And accusing your spouse of stuff they probably haven't done is the kiss of death.
Yeah.
And then they say the fifth stage creation stage where you're ready to do projects as a couple, to go out into the world as a couple and contribute something, like your children, or some other project that you might do.
Building anchovy sandwiches together.
Anchovy sandwiches together, exactly. And selling them, of course, they'd sell very quickly because everyone loves anchovy sandwiches. But reading this last stage, I was reminded of the Jewish wedding ceremony. If you've been to a Jewish wedding recently, you'll hear what I'm saying. At the end of the ceremony, after they're married, the groom stamps on a glass.
Yeah.
A wine glass or whatever. And the symbolism is, this is a broken world that we live in, and you're taking your love into the broken world, and we hope you can help a little. I think it's a great symbol.
Yeah.
That we hope we can bring something out of all this. So, my takeaway from this is how absolutely horrible it must be to break up in that first stage.
Oh, it's horrible.
No wonder we see people as upset and almost desperate.
And that happened to me before, too.
Yes, I know it did.
And you know, even with a girl that I dated for probably 3 or 4 months, and I was just devastated. I mean, because everything about her was still so amazing.
Yes, still amazing.
Right?
I was thinking that you have been through that.
Yeah.
And it must be worse than having a limb amputated.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah. Or losing your mother, which is the obvious parallel.
It was worse than losing a mother,
Yeah.
and that's so bizarre to say.
But it is true. If we had a secure relationship with Mom, we're not going to be so worried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
A lot to think about.
Lot to think about.
And I think that video was good enough to get a like.
I hope so. I would be very happy. I'd even make you an anchovy sandwich.
Now they're not going to want to do it. All right. So, good video, Margaret.
Thank you.
Go back and think about that in your past relationships and how you've gone through the different stages and maybe not made it out of that first stage that we talked about.
Struggle, right.
And of course, if you want to get our help personally, just go to my website, askcraig.net. Sign up for the coaching option that works best for you. I do email coaching. I do Skype coaching. If you got to get with me right away, I do offer emergency Skype coaching. Margaret is also available for Skype coaching.
Yes, I'm available.
Yeah, when you go to my website, click on the top where it says Margaret, and that's where you can sign up to talk with her.
And we love to hear your comments, too.
Absolutely.
We love to hear from you in any form.
So, that's it for this video.
That's it.
I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
I'm Coach Anchovy.
And we will talk with you soon.
Hi, I'm Coach Margaret, a relationship coach and a psychotherapist with 35 years experience. Every relationship is different and every breakup is different. If you would like professional help with your situation, please contact us at askcraig.net.